going on YouTube and people of the internet? This is Millennium H here, and today I'm going to be doing my first unboxing video. Today I'm going to be unboxing this Magic the Gathering 2014 Sworn to Darkness Commander deck. And this is the first set of Magic cards that I've ever bought or gotten, and I'm looking forward to it. I recently just got into Magic. A few friends got me into it, so I'm still learning all the technicalities and everything. So if I say something wrong, please correct me down in the comments. It's welcomed. But yeah, let's get into it. Today I'm going to be using my voluptuous Dark Magician Girl mat that I got from Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description below if you're looking to purchase one yourself. But yeah, I'm excited about this box. Been looking to get it for a long time, but it was rather expensive for just a starter deck. But I get that Magic is more expensive than Yu-Gi-Oh! I've been used to playing Yu-Gi-Oh! My whole life, so I'm used to having to buy 3 structure decks or so just to make an accurate deck that can actually duel well against someone. But we'll start off. We got this oddly large card. It says Nixilis of the Black Oath. It's a holofoil. He's a planeswalker, and you can +2, and each opponent loses 1 life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. -2, put a 5/5 black demon creature token with flying onto the battlefield, and then you lose 2 life. Then you can negate him, and you can get an emblem with you pay 1 regular mana and 1 skull mana to sacrifice a creature. You gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. Nixilis of the Black Oath can be your commander. So, I guess this is the actual box that the deck comes in. Okay, it's packaged. First card we see is an emblem, Nixilis. You can pay a colorless mana and a swamp mana to sacrifice a creature, and you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. Interesting. Also, guys, I apologize if my video format is a little messed up. I'm still getting used to this. As you can see, this is my first video, so hopefully over time it'll get better, and eventually I'll have a nicer camera, hopefully, so I can have better video and sound quality. So please just bear with me for the moment. Okay, let's get into this. So, we've got some tokens. Alright, there are our tokens. Set them out over here. And then we have some swamps. I think there is, I looked at the deck profile for this. I think there are 40 or 42 lands in this deck. I could be wrong. But yeah, that's that. And then we'll start off with Nixilis of the Black Oath. And it's the same abilities as the big card that I just read off, so I won't be reading that, but I'll place the commander right here. Okay, so the first card we have Ghoulcaller Gisa. You can pay a black mana and you can tap her to sacrifice another creature. Put X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. Giraffe, must you always whine? I agreed to nothing. I'll raise ghouls anytime I wish. Drana Calastria Bloodchief. She's a legendary creature and a vampire shaman. She has flying. You can pay an X colorless mana and 2 black mana. Target creature gets -0, -X until the end of the turn, and Drana Calastria Bloodchief gets +X/+O until the end of the turn. Skursdog High Priest. It's a creature, it's a human cleric. And it has Morbid. You can tap it, tap 2 untapped creatures you control, put a 5/5 black demon creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Activate this ability only if a creature died this turn. Throbbin's Plea falls on deaf ears. Ours do not. And then we have Nantuko Shade. This card looks pretty cool. Don't know if you can see that very well. You can play a black mana, and Nantuko Shade gets 1/1 until the end of the turn. In life, the Nantuko studied by nature, revering it. In death, they study nature by disemboweling it. So, next we have Flesh Carver. It's a creature and a human wizard. It has Intimidate. You can pay a colorless and a black mana to sacrifice another creature. Put 2 1/1 counters on Flesh Carver. When Flesh Carver dies, put an XX black hard creature token onto the battlefield where X is Flesh Carver's power. Just a taste. We have Crypt Gas. Now, I've been playing Commander just to learn the whole gist of the game with a friend's deck, and he uses an all-black deck with Hirobi Death's Wail as the commander, and Crypt Gas is in it, and it's actually a really good card. It has Extort. Whenever you cast a spell, you may pay, I'm not sure the terminology on the white with black mana card, but if you guys know, please let me know in the description. And if you do, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain that much life. Whenever you tap a swamp mana, add another black mana to your mana pool in addition to the mana the land produces. So this is a good way to basically double all your swamp mana. Disciple of Bolas. It's a creature and a human wizard. When Disciple of Bolas enters the battlefield, sacrifice another creature, and you gain X life and draw X cards where X is that creature's power. Lord Bolas has shown me how each miserable little life holds untold resources. Next, we have the Abyssal Persecutor. It has flying and trample. You can't win the game, and your opponents can't lose the game. His slaves crave death more than they desire freedom. He denies them both. Really love the whole feel of this deck and the way the cards look. Liliana's Reaver. It's a creature and a zombie, and it has Death Touch. Whenever Liliana's Reaver deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card, and you put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. Magus of the Coffers. It's a creature, a human wizard, and you can pay 2 colorless mana and tap this card and add a black mana to your mana pool for each swamp you control. That can come in handy when trying to pull off some combos. Raving Dead. It's a zombie creature with Death Touch. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose an opponent at random. Raving Dead attacks that player this combat if able. Whenever Raving Dead deals combat damage to a player, that player loses half his or her life, rounded down. Wow. That's insane. Next we have Blood Gift Demon. It's a demon with flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, target player draws a card and loses 1 life. He relishes the devotion of his Skursdog puppets and their belief that it will earn them immortality. It's a cool looking card. Demon of Wailing Agonies. Now this card actually looks really sick. One thing I love about Magic is how cool the art looks on a lot of the cards. It's just, some of it's really breathtaking. It's it has flying, and then Lieutenant. As long as you control your commander, Demon of Wailing Agonies gets +2/+2 and has whenever Demon of Wailing Agonies deals combat damage to a player, that player sacrifices a creature. Wow, that's pretty awesome. Next we have the Grave Titan. It's a giant with Death Touch. Whenever Grave Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, put two 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield. Death in form and function. Pontiff of Blight. It's a creature and a zombie cleric. It has Extort, which is the same as Crypt Gas. Other creatures you control have Extort. If a creature has multiple instances of Extort, each triggers separately. Wow. Reaper from the Abyss. It's a demon and it has flying and morbid. At the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, destroy target non-demon creature. Which, if you're the only one playing demon creatures, you could wreck some shit with this. Sorry about that. Sarid Demon. I'm not sure how to say that. I apologize if I butcher these names. It's a demon with flying and trample. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature other than Sarid Demon, and then each opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's power. If you can't sacrifice a creature, tap this creature and you lose 7 life. Kind of a double-edged sword. Butcher of Malakir. It's a vampire warrior with flying. Whenever Butcher of Malakir or another creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. His verdict is always guilty. His sentence is always death. Pretty cool. Overseer of the Damned. Wow. That's cool. It's a demon with flying. When Overseer of the Damned enters the battlefield, you may destroy target creature. When a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. Pestilence Demon. It's flying, and you can pay a black mana to activate this ability. Pestilence Demon deals 1 damage to each creature and player. I have schemed too long and supplanted by dead gods. If I cannot have this world, no one can. Bad Moon. It's an enchantment. Black creatures get +1/+1. Spoils of Blood. This is an instant. Put an XX black horror creature token onto the battlefield, where X is the number of creatures that died this turn. There are always leftovers. Quote by the Flesh Carper. Malicious Affliction, another instant. It's morbid. When you cast Malicious Affliction, if a creature died this turn, you may copy Malicious Affliction and may choose a new target for the copy. And its ability is destroy target non-black creature. Such an affliction appears to seek out the pure. The Plague Doctor. Sudden Spoiling. It's an instant, and it has split second. As long as this spell is on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Until end of turn, creatures target player controls lose all abilities and have base power and toughness. Wait a second, let me read that again. Creatures target player controls lose all abilities and have base power and toughness of 0/2. Okay, forgive me for that. Tried to read it a little too quick. Wake the Dead. It's an instant. Cast Wake the Dead only during combat on an opponent's turn. Return X target creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Sacrifice those creatures at the beginning of the next end step. Mutilate. It's a sorcery card. All creatures get -1/-1 until the end of turn for each swamp you control. It's only torture if you're strong enough to survive. Otherwise, it's a simple, gruesome death. I'm happy either way. Infernal Offering. It's a sorcery. Choose an opponent, and you and that player each sacrifice a creature. Each player who sacrificed a creature this way draws 2 cards. Choose an opponent, return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then that player returns a creature card from his or her graveyard to the battlefield. Aether Snap. Remove all counters from all permanents and exile all tokens. May you wake to find you were only ever a dream. Some really cool cards in this deck so far. About halfway done, I would say. Promise of Power. Choose one. You draw 5 cards and you lose 5 life. Put an XX black demon creature token with flying onto the battlefield, where X is the number of cards in your hand as the token enters the battlefield. Entwine, and you pay 4 colorless mana. Choose both if you pay the Entwine cost. Interesting. Necromantic Selection. Destroy all creatures, then return a creature card put into the graveyard this way onto the battlefield under your control. It's a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. Exile Necromantic Selection. It shambled from the cloud of ash and bone dust, undeterred by its own extinction. Black Sun's Zenith. Put X -1/-1 counters on each creature. Shuffle Black Sun's Zenith into its owner's library. Under the Suns, Mirrodin kneels and begs us for perfection. Profane Command. Sorcery. Choose 2. Target player loses X life. Return target creature with converted mana cost X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Or, target creature gets -X until the end of turn. Or, up to X target creatures gain fear until the end of the turn. They can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. Dregs of Sorrow. Destroy X target non-black creatures. Draw X cards. Jet Medallion. Black spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, 1 colorless mana less, which is actually a very good card. Loshreith. It's an artifact and it's equipment, living weapon. When this equipment enters the battlefield, put a 0/0 black germ creature token onto the battlefield, then attach it to this, or attach this to it. Equipped creature gets 1/1 for each swamp you control. Equip 2 of these things, and these can be paid with either 1 regular black mana or 2 life. Crypt of Agadim, it's a land. Crypt of Agadim enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it to add 1 black mana to your mana pool, or you can tap 2 colorless mana to add black mana to your mana pool for each black creature card in your graveyard. We got some more swamps. Arcane Lighthouse. You can tap it to add 1 mana to your mana pool, 1 colorless mana, or you can spend a colorless mana and tap this until the end of turn. Creatures your opponents control lose hexproof and shroud and can't have hexproof or shroud. Baron Moor. Baron Moor enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap it to add a black mana to your mana pool, and then it has cycling with a black mana beside it, and you spend a black mana to discard this card and draw a card. Bojuka Bog. Bojuka Bog enters the battlefield tapped. When Bojuka Bog enters the battlefield, exile all cards from the target player's graveyard, and then you can tap it to add a black mana to your mana pool, of course. Then you have the Everglades card. When Everglades enters the battlefield tap, or Everglades enters the battlefield tapped. When Everglades enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you return an untapped swamp you control to its owner's hand. And you can tap this and add a colorless mana and a swamp mana to your mana pool. Ghost Quarter. You can tap it and add 1 mana to your mana pool, or you can tap it and sacrifice Ghost Quarter, destroy target land, and its controller may search his or her library for a basic land card and put it on the battlefield, and then shuffle his or her library. Myriad Landscape. Myriad Landscape enters the battlefield tap, and you can tap it to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, or you can sack 2 colorless mana and tap this. Sacrifice Myriad Landscape, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards that share a land type, put them onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. Polluted Mire. Polluted Mire enters the battlefield tapped, and you can tap it to add a black mana to your mana pool. Then you can cycle 2 colorless mana, discard this card, and draw a card. Vampire Hexmage. It's a creature. It's a vampire shaman, and it has first strike. Sacrifice Vampire Hexmage and remove all counters from target permanent. When the Blood Hunt lost its thrill, she looked for less tangible means of domination. Evernight Shade. It's a cool looking card. Like his hood and his eyes. That's dope. You can spend a black mana, and Evernight Shade gets 1/1 until the end of the turn. It has Undying. When this creature dies, if it had no 1/1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a 1/1 counter on it. Necrotile. It has first strike. When Necrotile enters the battlefield, destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature. That creature cannot be regenerated. His victims don't have time to feel despair. That's kind of him. Shriek Maw. It's an elemental creature that has fear. This creature can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. When Shriek Maw enters the battlefield, destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature. You can evoke with 1 regular mana and 1 black mana. You may cast this spell for its evoke cost. If you do, it's sacrificed when it enters the battlefield. Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Creature, zombie. When Grey Merchant of Asphodel enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Each black mana in the mana cost of permanents you control counts toward your devotion to black. Morkrut Banshee. It's a spirit and has morbid. When Markroot Banshee enters the battlefield, if a creature died this turn, target creature gets -4/-4 until the end of turn. Let go your grudges or risk wandering the bogs forever in a murderous rage. Love the style of this deck, as I've said already. Really love the demons and the spirits and the one elemental that we got. And the instants and sorcery cards are really cool as well, in my opinion. Phyrexian Gargantua. It's a creature and it's horror. When Phyrexian Gargantua enters the battlefield, you draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Other Phyrexians have nightmares about the Gargantua. Tragic Slip. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Morbid, that creature gets -13/-13 until the end of turn instead if a creature died this turn. Linger on death's door and risk being invited in. Tendrils of Corruption. It's an instant. Tendrils of Corruption deals X damage to target creature and you gain X life, where X is the number of swamps you control. Darkness doesn't always send its minions to do its dirty work. I guess it does sometimes, though. Annihilate. It's an instant. Destroy target non-black creature. It can't be regenerated. Then you can draw a card. Whatever Yawgmoth marks dies. There is no escape. Skeletal Scrying. It's an instant. As an additional cost to Skeletal Scrying, exile X cards from your graveyard. You draw X cards and you lose X life. Sign in Blood. It's a sorcery card. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Little agonies pave the way to greater power. Read the Bones. Scry 2 and then draw 2 cards. You lose 2 life. The dead know lessons the living have not learned. Victimize. Sorcery. Choose 2 target creatures. Choose 2 target creature cards in your graveyard. Sacrifice a creature, and if you do, return the chosen cards to the battlefield tapped. The priest casts Xancha to the ground. It's defective. We must scrap it. Can't talk today. Perfect day to be making a video, right? Siphon Mind. Each other player discards a card. You draw a card for each card discarded this way. When tempers run high, it's easy to lose your head. Dread Return. It's nice looking. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Flashback. Sacrifice 3 creatures. You may cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost, then exile it. Those who forget the horrors of the past are doomed to re-meet them. I can agree with that. Burnished Heart. Artifact creature, Elk. You can pay 3 colorless mana, sacrifice Burnished Heart, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards and put them onto the battlefield tap, and then shuffle your library. Forged by divine hands to wander mortal realms. Then we got a Soul Ring, and you can tap it to add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. Lost to Time, it's the Artificer's art of trapping light from a distant star in a ring of purest gold. Charcoal Diamond. Charcoal Diamond enters the battlefield tapped, and you can tap it to add a black mana to your mana pool. Mind Stone. It's an artifact. You can tap it to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, or you can pay a colorless mana and tap it to sacrifice Mind Stone and draw a card. What mana but possibility, an idea not yet given form? What is mana but possibility, an idea not yet given form? There we go. Next we have Swiftfoot Boots. It's an artifact and an equipment. Equipped creature has hexaproof and haste. Equip 1 colorless mana. I think that's the cost. I'm not really sure. There is great wisdom in rushing headlong into combat, if you're prepared. Commander Sphere. You can tap it to add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Sacrifice Commander Sphere and draw a card. It harmonizes with the essence of its master. Got 2 cards left. Unstable Obelisk. You can tap it to add a colorless mana to your mana pool. Or you can pay 7 colorless mana and tap it to sacrifice Unstable Obelisk and destroy target permanent. Its collapse is like the lashing out of a long dead civilization that resents being forgotten. Then we have Worn Power Stone. It's an artifact. Worn Power Stone enters the battlefield tapped, and you can tap it to add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. Even a fragment of a Power Stone contains within it not just energy, but space. Vast dimensions trapped in fragile crystal. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was the 2014 Magic the Gathering Sworn to Darkness Commander deck. I hope you enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed doing it. Once again, forgive me if I got at parts I couldn't speak correctly, or if I misread anything. Please correct me down in the comments below, and comment what you would like to see next. I'm looking to do, as I've said in my introduction video, Yu-Gi-Oh! Openings, Magic the Gathering openings, and the new Dragon Ball Super card game openings, which I'll be doing here in a few videos. I don't know how to play the Dragon Ball Super card game, but as I've said before, I'm a big fan of the Dragon Ball series, so I think it'll be fun. But yeah, if you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have an awesome day. I'll see you next time.